Warbeasts. The monsters are aggressive and bloodthirsty. They are living in constant pain. Their bodies have been twisted beyond what is natural. The Cylons resemble Sarlaccs and live in large earthen structure. They are gargantuan mass mouths.
I'll be back, Mama. Okay, fine. Three, two, three, two, one, action. There's heat over here. I'm back. Okay. Well, let's try again.
Tentacles, no apparent coherency to their biology, and unfortunately, this Sith Warbeast is one that we know the least about. But while these Warbeasts were a problem, the Tyranitar was a new level threat entirely. The Warworms never really ventured out where they were originally placed, and the Cylon were apparently very easy to kill despite their appearance. Qui-Gon and the young Obi-Wan were able to take one out rather quickly, and didn't even seem all that tired. It was the Tyranitar, though, that terrorized the galaxy. They posed the most threat directly to the Jedi Order. Entire groups of Jedi would go missing when hunting down Tyranitar. Killing any Sith Warbeast was monumental, as the Sith would alchemically optimize the creatures to become perfect killing machines. As a result, the Jedi would devise teams of consisting of powerful warriors, hunters, and Jedi who could influence the minds of the Tyranitar. Coordinated attacks. Using this method, the Jedi would go on for the Great Hunt, and the hunt would last around 3 years. Over this hunt, the Jedi would cleanse the worlds of Tython, Onderon, Yavin 4, Kashyyyk, Tatooine, and even Korriban. While this resulted in the near total extinction of the Tyranitar, the Great Hunt was not entirely successful, as it diminished and dwindled away Jedi resources drastically. The hunts of Kashyyyk and Korriban were complete failures, and many Jedi were killed in the ensuing battle. This specific event would mark the official end of the Great Hunt, as it was told to us in Star Wars Tales number 23. The story focuses on a team of well-accomplished Jedi, including a Twi'lek by the name of Moonhan Seresh, a noble Jedi who was staunchly believing in the Jedi way and held strict to the code, one who was willing to do literally anything to serve the cause. Instead of choosing a lightsaber, the Twi'lek Jedi was one of the few that only wielded a Force-imbued sword, and even used a bow. Shelon Nur was another Jedi, the apprentice of the famous Jedi Master, Wood Banar, and the wielder of the Solari Kyber Crystal. The Solari was known to only function of those that were pure of spirit and devoted to the light side. And then you have the other Jedi, Duron Keldroma, the cousin and the last living relative of Ulan Keldroma. Keldroma was in a relationship with Sheala, the Jedi of their team responsible for influencing the mind of the Tyranitar. This hunting team was the best of the best, but they would soon meet their ultimate challenge. Upon being summoned to Onderon by the High Council, the group was given a secret mission that was off the books. Officially, the Great Hunt had concluded 2 days earlier, but after 3 years of hunting the beasts, it had taken so much of a toll on the Jedi resources that the hunt was deemed too dangerous to continue. However, the High Council had selected this team of Jedi for a special mission to Korriban. On Korriban, there was supposedly a large and a dangerous Tyranitar from which the Sith Academy had been using to study. The Jedi were to infiltrate Korriban and kill the beast there, and although the Council wanted to send more Jedi with them, the Senate had specifically requested only a small number of Jedi be chosen. Interestingly, despite the Jedi trying to erase all traces of Exar Kun's legacy, they never did directly attack the Sith Academy on Korriban, and currently in the lore we don't know why, but our best guess was that at the time the Jedi Order was not strong enough, and they simply did not know what sort of threats loomed deep within the Academy. For the longest time it was forbidden for the Jedi to step foot on Korriban. The entire planet permeated with the dark side, and threatened to corrupt even the most pure of heart. This was the reason why the Senate requested only 3 Jedi be sent, as they wanted to minimize the risk of any of them falling to the dark side. Our team of Jedi would actually feel the pull as soon as they touched down in what is known as the Dresde settlement. In order to get more information about the Turreta Tech, they were forced to rely on local contacts. Of course, any being that decides to do business on Korriban has no good intentions, and so the Jedi found themselves making a spice run, doing it for smugglers in order to get information. Meanwhile, the Jedi by the name of Kun Han attempted to seduce and sleep with a Sith apprentice in order to get more information about the Academy. But while there, Keldroma began to receive terrible visions, seeing the rise of Darth Malak and the return of the Sith. Visions granted by Korriban. The world had already done something to the Jedi. They had compromised their moral codes within a week. The 3 Jedi were also beginning to fight amongst themselves. Gun Hand heavily criticized his 2 comrades for being in a relationship, believing that it made his friends weak and unfocused. He was concerned that he could not trust them if they could not keep their passion in check. He feared that they would fall prey to the dark side, especially on Korriban. However, the 2 Jedi believed that he was being arrogant and self-righteous, but Keldroma promised that he would not trust the Jedi as long as they held passion for one another, and decided to part ways with them. Keldroma wanted to kill the Turreta Tech himself. The Jedi lovers had recently heard of another Sith war beast. However, it was not on Korriban. It was terrorizing the world of Kashyyyk. And with that, the 3 Jedi parted company and went on their separate missions. All of them, however, would end in catastrophe. Gun Han traveled to Kashyyyk, where the Wookiees told him of the terrible beast in the dark part of the forest that was eating their kind. The Jedi Suresh made his way down to the forest floor and lured the Turreta Tech out of hiding. However, this challenge was more than he had bargained for, and his arrogance was his downfall. The Jedi could not handle the beast alone. His force-imbued blade would break inside of the creature's hide, and the Turreta Tech would murder the young Jedi, devouring him whole. On Korriban, the 2 Jedi lovers felt the death of their comrade through the Force, and yet trudged on to face their challenge. But the dark side began to whisper in their ear, to corrupt them. Korriban began to speak. The Jedi Durin was unable to make a mental contact with the Turreta Tech when they located it, attempting to confuse it, leaving the Jedi Shayla at a complete disadvantage when fighting the monster. The Jedi was skilled though, and held her own for a time. Eventually, Duran leapt into the battle to protect the Jedi, only to be instantly killed with a single slash of the Turreta Tech's venomous claws. Wounded, however, the Turreta Tech attempted to retreat, and in Duran's last moments, he received another vision of the Force. A vision.
Let's talk, says. Cool, Mama. Let's go. Was it, Mama? Have a good time. 3, 2, 1. Action. Did I see something? Okay. Did you see that? I swear I seen something like that. Maybe I'm tripping, but I swear I saw something like that. It's a cut on my eye. Oh well. I must be tripping. Okay, 3, 2, 1, action. Nah, you know what? I'm not gonna even bother trying to hide it anymore. As you can see, the floor is, most of these rooms are empty. So I can't be fucked, doing rooms, over rooms, to try to character upstairs. Okay, 3, 2, 1, action. Talking about a character for a second, just pretend they're like a character. Give me a minute. Okay, yeah. Just pretend those other floors are similar to this floor. Books there, sushi there, another office, bedrooms or meeting rooms. So yeah. Okay, 3, 2, 1, action. Go. There we are, Mama.
Yep. Here we are.
Press play.
Of Revan wearing his hunt. She wanted revenge, but as she stepped into the lair of the Terentatek, the Solari crystal inside of her lightsaber began to turn against her, sensing that Shayla had betrayed the light. In the dying light of her dimming lightsaber, Shayla saw that behind the wounded Terentatek was a much larger one of the biggest in recorded history, emerging from the shadows. And here, the story of Shayla comes to an end. The 3 Jedi had all been right about one another. Their arrogance, their passion was their undoing. But the redeemed Revan would finish this mission, looking for star maps. Revan would find all of the skeletal remains of these Jedi on his adventure. Revan would even collect the cloak of Kel Droma, and would kill the Terentateks on both Korriban and Kashyyyk. In a way, Revan was the fulfiller of the Great Hunt, and would bring a conclusion to this chapter in Star Wars history, one of the darkest indeed. This is one of the eras of the Jedi history that is overshadowed and brushed over by many broader wars that the Jedi get into, but this is definitely one of those times that we believe is most dark in the lore. But what do you think, my friend? Crashes in Star Wars happen all of the time. For one reason or another, it was actually quite common for a ship full of people to get stranded on a remote world and forced to survive by any means necessary. Traveling through space was treacherous and cruel, not to mention unpredictable. For most groups, this simply meant rationing out food, preparing for rescue, and attempting to repair your ship. For others, though, this was perhaps a death sentence. But then there was the third category, those who had no food, no hope, but refused to simply accept death. They would instead lose their minds and began some of the most depraved and sickening practices to ensure their own survival and that of their children. That is how the story of the children of Dagobah begins. So, steel yourself, acolytes, because today we will enter one of the most terrifying holocrons that we have. The story of the children of Dagobah begins in the year 40 BBY, when a ship carrying a Republic survey team crash-landed on Dagobah. The swamp world was pretty deadly to anyone who wasn't a trained Force sensitive. As we know, the planet was full of monsters, those that lurk in the muddy waters, creatures that howl in the night from the darkness of the wood, predatory insects, disease, and of course, a heavy presence of the dark side. It is an unfriendly world indeed, and the survey team would each die one by one from various causes after crash landing there. A few of them by the carnivorous plants, but most of them by fever. Originally, they had been an exploratory group for the beginnings of a new republic, the Mappers of Stars. But that was all so long ago now. The children of this survey team had developed an immunity to this fever, though, and so managed to survive the plague that would take their parents. But things would soon take a worse turn. The adults had run out of food, and the people had no idea how to forage. Besides, it wasn't as though Dagobah was exactly rich in sustenance. Now starving and completely out of options, the jungle took their minds, and the adults began to feed their children with the flesh of their dead companions. Each time one of their number died of the illness or of starvation, the adults would simply cook them up and feed them to their children. Very soon, they ran out of the dead, though, and the adults began to feed the children from their own flesh until they too died. The children began to view this as a normal process, and thus began a cannibalistic society in order to survive the harsh world. The oldest of them, a boy named Gault, had only been 7 years old by the time that the last adult died. From that point forward, the children began to scour the jungle in search of any food. But of course, when one of them died, the feast would begin. They wouldn't be rediscovered actually until the year 1 ABY, when a group of smugglers landed on Dagobah in order to hide from the Empire. Among their group was an individual by the name of Plati Okife, the leader of the smugglers, her aide Truat, and most notably, 2 other kids by the name of Cash and Zack, as well as their uncle, Mammon Fool. They had been on the run from the Empire ever since they survived the destruction of Alderaan and were
Oh,
attempting to
yeah.
uncover the secrets of the Lost Jedi.
This
As
is my
president,
first
they were being chased down by Boba Fett, as the
time
Imperials had
to-
deemed them a
It's
threat
my
as they
first
were
payment
pursuing
for this
surviving
year.
Jedi. But that
The
was when
next
this
year I'll
group
get
too
more
got stuck
payment
in
on
the
my
mud.
side, and
Upon
more
seeing the
payment,
children
and
there,
more
though,
payment,
the
and
group
more
was terrified.
payment.
They could not
I
tell
mean, I'm
whether they
rich
were
with
human or not.
Look
They
how
were
much
now
money I
gaunt and
have.
skinny to the point of being skeletal.
come on.
The children were missing many teeth,
I
with
can buy a
wiry
new
hair,
shoe,
and skin
I
that
can
seemed to stretch
buy
over their
anything I
skulls.
want,
The
yeah.
group's leader pulled her blaster and
Look how
shot
much
one of the
money
children,
I
but
have.
Mam and
Look
Fool
how much
pulled her to hold
gold.
her fire, as they were actually attempting to help them. Galt and the children of Dagobah took the group to their camp, which they called the Shelter. The children then offered whatever hospitality that they could muster, including a
buddy,
thick stew
how
made
much
of strips of
gold
meat.
is?
Unbeknownst to the group, though, they were eating the body of Galt's companion, the very one that their leader had shot in the swamp just moments earlier. As the two kids and their uncle learned more about the children, it turned out that they were terrified of a tiny green creature that lived somewhere deep within the swamp. The group called it
It's
the
the best
Imp.
choice I ever
Clearly,
had.
it seems that they have encountered
And I'm
the exiled
happy
Yoda
that
at one
it
point,
fell
and for some reason or another,
from
became
the
deathly
Jedi
afraid of him.
Council.
For several days, the group had noticed
And
nothing
now,
was wrong, as the smugglers were
look
working
how
on
much
digging
money
the ship
I
out
get
of the swamp,
paid
when one of them
now.
revealed that they were being hunted by the infamous bounty hunter Boba Fett, who had
Oh,
followed them to the
man.
world. The smugglers realized that there was no way to stop Boba, and so
If I
they
didn't
too
get
decided to
expelled
hunt him
from
down.
the
Because of
Jedi
this, the smugglers
Council,
broke into smaller
I
groups.
would
But the
be
children
here.
is not the only thing dangerous
Within
on
the
Dagobah.
highway.
In the swamp, they were attacked by
Within
what is known as
Gangster.
knobby white spiders.
Within
These were
King
giant,
Kong.
land speeder-sized arachnid creatures native to Dagobah. In the fight, Truett received a
I mean,
head wound
come on.
and had to be returned to the shelter by the children.
Money?
Truett was left alone with the children
Hell
there, while the
yeah.
other smugglers continued to hunt for Boba. When they returned, though, they
can
found
buy
the children had
anything with this
amputated his
story.
arm,
This
claiming that it
time.
had been poisoned by the spiders and endangered the rest of his body. But it would be later when they would
Money,
all learn the
money,
truth.
money, and
Something
money,
terrible
money,
was
money.
in the stew, a ring that had belonged to their
Money,
smuggler
money.
companion. But the children were not done. They also began to amputate his leg by the time that the rest of the
Good night.
group returned to the camp.
Then I'll go. Ready, Mama?
Yeah, yeah,
I'll see you in the morning. See you then.